So, good morning. Welcome to Work-Based Learning Wednesdays to this webinar. We are so appreciative of you being here today. We are very fortunate to have with us Mrs. Sharice Blue from NC Works. She's the director of NC Works, and she's going to give you some more. She's also going to introduce her team member here who is with her also. I would like for you to know that we are going to have time for question and answers at the end. But if you're anything like me, you want to put your question out there, we will address those questions for you. As Ms. DeVita told me that this will be an interactive session. Again, they are coming to us from NC Works. And so you know that in all different settings, whether you are workforce, whether you are secondary or post-secondary, everybody has their own kind of understanding of work-based learning. And we want to talk about, even through at the end, how can we form those partnerships to be able to deliver services to our same population of students and make sure that they get what they need as far as career development and work-based learning. I do have my colleague here who I'm very happy that she's here, Amy Policastro Schrader, who is the career development and work-based learning consultant at DPI as well. So we are so very appreciative of everyone taking time out of their schedules to come and attend. Without further ado, I am going to turn it over to Miss Blue. And again, if you guys have any questions, please pop those in the chat. If you haven't had a chance to put your name and what county or school system you're from, please do that as well, just so we can kind of get a heads up of who's here. And we just so thank you. Miss Blue, thank you for being here today. We appreciate you and Davita chiming in to share with us today.
Good morning, and thank you for having us. Good morning, everyone. Again, my name is Sharice Blue, and I serve as the NC Works District Director with Goodwill Industries of Northwest North Carolina. I have worked with Goodwill for over 12 years, starting my journey as a case manager and growing into my current role. Our organization holds the WIOA contract for the Piedmont Triad Regional Workforce Development Board, High Country area, and Mountain area. Under PTRC, we oversee work-based learning initiatives across 10 counties, working closely with the Division of Workforce Solution and other key partners to strengthen workforce opportunities across the state. I'm also pleased to be here today alongside my colleague, Davita Ewell, who serves as the regional manager for Next Gen. Davita has been with Goodwill for over 13 years, also starting as a case manager before advancing into her leadership role. She plays a key role in managing and supporting work-based learning initiatives, and she'll be leading today's presentation and discussion. And with that being said, I'll turn it over to Davita.
Good morning, everyone. I hope everybody's excited to discuss work-based learning. I know many of you are familiar with work-based learning. Some of you are heavily, some may just be getting into it. I'm going to share some things that we do on our end or how we implement work-based learning. It is going to be interactive, so you have some polls out there. I want to get some feedback from you guys too, because that's how we all grow. We learn what's going on in each area, and so we're going to just kind of get into that today. We're going to first start with a quick little overview of work-based learning, and that's pretty much the way students learn, in the workplace, combining the real-world experience, having to explore the opportunities that they think they want to do or what career path they want to go into, and combining those two pieces so that they're better prepared when they're leaving the educational system. We're going to watch a quick video. Please let me know if you can't hear it.
Work-based learning is a variety of experiences that increase student skills and professional connections with collaborative support from education and organizations. And let's take this a step further. How do we build work-based learning experiences? Well, every work-based learning experience must provide collaborative learning before, during, and after the experience, intentionally connect to an expert in the field, and support student skill development for career success. If we follow this model, we can help students gain skills, advance career connections, and enhance classroom learning. We can make a difference in the lives of students to prepare them for a successful future.
All right. So we're going to discuss more in depth on work-based learning, career pathways, the combining the benefits for the students as well as for the employers, because overall, they all both parties have to benefit from it. All right. So we're going to talk about the idea of work-based learning and how to track it. As we talked about career paths, every area has career paths or career pathways, and we want to kind of discuss that today. I'm going to ask you a couple times about, what pathways are working in your area, but also we're going to talk about collaboration with those industries in your area, how to connect those pathways or the industries with your students so that they're able to expose or get shadowing opportunities, experience the opportunities they need to move forward further in their educational career path. We're also going to discuss career readiness because we all know getting them to the actual industry or in the career path is one thing, but when you get them into the actual role, are they prepared? We focus heavily on preparing them so when they get to that employer, they're more apt to be successful because they can have the skill and education, but they not have the soft skills. We're going to talk a little bit about that as well. And then also how to talk to your employers or industry leaders regarding mentorship and guidance, because we also know if they're invested in that young person, the young person is more likely to be successful in the venture of work-based learning. Because at the end of the day, you want the both pieces to come together so that they are successful. And if you have questions anytime during this demonstration, please put them in the chat. Ms. Blue is going to help me out here as we're going through it because I want you guys to ask questions as well. I may not have all the answers, but if I don't, I will say table it and we'll get to it. But we're going to be putting all that together today, okay? Career readiness and soft skills. Now, we just kind of talked about that earlier, the soft skills, okay? So most of you guys work with young people anywhere between the ages of 14 to 16. And we know that they're not all the way prepared when they come to us. A lot of times they've never worked before. So throwing them into a work-based learning immediately might not be the best thing. You have to give them some training first. And so we're going to talk about what soft skills are and how to help these young people get the soft skills. Because we know it's important. With NC Works Next Gen, we put them through a career training program. We partner with our community colleges to help them get those soft skills they need, those ethics they need for work. I'm going to look at a quick video about that. righty. Try to get back to my screen here. Give me 1 second. It started to do something different here. There we go. There we go. All right. Apologies for that. So during the video, we talked about it discussed some soft skills that are necessary for young people. Communication is always the biggest piece for this generation. How to communicate with their site supervisor or any manager they're going to come in contact with. So we need to prepare them for communication. Communicate when they're going to be at their work site, when they can't be late or have an issue at work or have a concern with somebody at the actual location. We all know as adults, we have to communicate every day. And for our young adults, communication has been kind of reduced to digital or on the phone, and we know verbal communication now is much more important within the work world. So helping them navigate that, because we know if they don't know how to communicate, they won't be as successful in that work-based learning that you put together. Also adaptable. I think every young person has a mindset of what they expect work to look like and what they think they should be doing. So clearly setting expectations on how it will work, the dynamic of what the expectations they used to have with their site supervisor, as well as what they're expected to do while they're at work. And time management is another piece. Again, they have to be at school, they have to be at classes. They're going to also have to be at the work-based learning. So making sure they understand that they have to report to someone at a certain time. They are scheduled to be at their work-based learning at 3:30, that they're at that work-based learning, because that employer is going to be looking for them to be preparing into that work-based culture or that work mindset. The empathy and self-awareness are just pieces that kind of help them work on controlling their emotions. We've all had to learn how to navigate our emotions a lot of times with our young people, because they're so used to being expressive, which is not a bad thing, but how to communicate those emotions in a professional manner. So the biggest part of these soft skills are going to be basically helping them prepare to get into the working world. Make sure they're ready as far as the atmosphere, the culture, the climate of work, right? The resume interviews, are we doing those? Are we helping them resumes? I know a lot of times schools are preparing them because they don't have a lot of experience, but they don't look up a generic resume. That's good. The interviews, mock interviews are important. If you can connect with your local workforce development boards or local area Goodwills or other employers out there to do mock interviews at your locations. I know schools here will often invite us to come in to do mock interviews with students. It prepares them, because we all know that as they're leaving the educational system, they need to be prepared to sit in front of someone and discuss, themselves. Tell me about yourself is the most generic question that we always push that they should be able to answer with a snap of their fingers, right? Having them get that confidence so they can do that, because if they're confident in that aspect, they're more than likely to be confident on their work experience or their work-based learning. I have a quick question in the chat. Has anybody done mock interviews with their students? You don't mind, you can throw it in the chat. I'm just curious, because it's very interesting to see them get into a character. If you do it with them, or maybe somebody else comes in from outside. It's a very helpful piece. I know a lot of schools invite us back to do it with them, because the students learn so much, and they also send some thank you notes to our case managers. Okay, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Good.
You can see it, Davida.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, work smarter, not harder. I'm always about, if we can get other people in the community to help us share it, get them to come in and do it. If we could come in and do it for you, and it saves you some time, the mock interviews are very helpful for those students, especially those graduating seniors. As you said, I see their mock interviews for the seniors at the class. That's very helpful for them, because the more experience they can get in front of people, the better they are when they leave the school system and they're actually out there on their own. I had some videos about some bad interviews, but I didn't put them in here because that wasn't the focus. I just wanted to, hone in on, when we're doing work-based learning, we have to make sure we're addressing these career readiness parts, especially those soft skills in mock interviews, because we know that they're going to be in the working world and want to be prepared for that. All right, so the work-based model is, as it says, career exploration, career exposure, career engagement equals career experience. All those have different things that they come with. The exposure, it could look like job fairs, career fairs, resource fairs. That's exposure. Shadowing is another piece that kind of puts it all together as well. Those job shadowings, those company tours, a lot of companies will have you let you come in and actually do a tour. And I'm pretty sure there's some things that you have to do as far as liability and whatnot. But it's a field trip. It may not have to be a whole group of students, but it could be, 2 or 3 students going to that industry to kind of explore what they're doing. A day in the life of a nurse, Yeah, I know it's kind of questionable if they can go into that system, that hospital or that facility. But if you can get the clearance, it definitely helps them. They either figure out this is what I want to do, or I don't like this, so I'm gonna try something else. We often find out on our end when students are wanting to go into training like CNA, they all say they want to be a nurse. They'll say, I want to be a nurse. Well, do you know that nursing has some other aspects than just, putting a Band-Aid on something? There are things of bathing, and sometimes you have to change a pamper, you have to change some things. And we quickly find out everybody's not meant for that life, but that conversation, that exposure will quickly help them figure out, what, maybe I want to be on the back end of healthcare, not in the actual direct care part. Those pieces come together and give them a wonderful experience. So they figure out, okay, this is what I want to do, or this is not what I want to do, or I want to try something else. We have another video about that as well, I believe. We're going to watch that real quick.
Figuring out which careers are not a good fit is an important part of the career exploration process. Unfortunately, students often find out that their chosen career is not a good fit after they have completed an expensive and time-consuming education. To avoid wasting time and money, students should gain work experience related to their interests while they're still in high school. Work-based learning experiences, such as informational interviews, job shadowing, and apprenticeships, give students the opportunity to experience a career and make informed decisions. These experiences also help students learn workforce expectations and develop their academic and technical skills. In this module, you'll learn about the various types of work-based learning and how to help students gain work experience as they explore their career options.
All right. So they talked about some of the models, some of the things you're going to explore. Same thing we talked about before, the shadowing on the job, because you want to be prepared. We're going to discuss, and I guess I want to ask a quick poll, a quick question. It's not in the presentation. Can some of you guys name what you think some of the career experiences or career-based model opportunities are? What kind of experiences or types of learning experiences are out there for students, or that you've used? Before I go to the next slide, you can put that in the chat. Shadowing, yes. So there are many types of work-based learning types. You have internships, apprenticeships, pre-apprenticeships, work experiences, on-the-job training, and job shadowing. Thank you for that. We're going to dissect a few of these today. Internships are probably more used in the educational system, and they're very helpful. Shadowing is one of those things that are pretty quick to do. You could just have them sit with a industry person or a individual at an industry that you're supporting or that they want to go into. But the internship is a little bit more involved, right? You have to meet with somebody. You have to get that thing set up. But you also have to discuss what they're going to learn, right? The tours are great because they get exposed to it. Apprenticeships, which is, I think North Carolina is really big on right now. They're really pushing apprenticeships and pre-apprenticeships. It's a state thing. I think apprenticeships are wonderful opportunities because it also has a benefit for the employer. Also, as a student, with the pre-apprenticeship and apprenticeships, they're going to be compensated. Within apprenticeships, if they can be set up, that student is going to be getting paid to technically go to school and get work experience. That who wouldn't want that? The employer is also getting a benefit from actually taking on that student. There are many things out there that allow for companies to say yes to us, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that later on in the presentation. Excuse me. But we're gonna just keep continuing discussing other types. When it comes to work experience and on-the-job training, those are more likely used within the Workforce Development Board. So with the programs such as NextGen, NC Works, they have opportunities as well, to combine their students' career path with their exploration as well, right? What that looks like for different students. I'll give an example. We may have a student who is interested in IT, which is a very difficult place to kind of get some experience. However, you can get the education. So ideally, you would want that student to go to be preparing for the IT world, preparing for the classes they need, and getting the education. But then what does that look like for them to go into a work experience, right? The work experience piece comes where they're given opportunity to go to that site, to that work site, do some of the actual duties of a IT professional, get them experience, because we know in the world of IT, experience is just as important as education, and sometimes more, because they have to trust you to get in there. But if you get that person in that door as they're going to school and they're combining their work experience, they're more likely to be invested into getting a job after they finish their training. That's kind of how it combines the work experience piece. The on the job piece, which is a part where the government comes in, and well, I say the government, the federal funding that NC Works and Workforce Development Boards have to support. So utilize those Workforce Development Boards, those NC Works programs in your area. They could come in, they can actually be an added value. Now I can say every student may be eligible to participate. However, at least put it out there for those students that could use it. But those on-the-job trainings are very important. They're actually hired by that company and giving the opportunity to kind of get skills, right? It's used very much so when they're trying to upskill employees, excuse me. But it also can be used when we're trying to integrate students or integrate people into a career path, right? Because the employer has the time to get compensated or somewhat support with the compensation for that individual while they're learning the task, learning the skill, and they don't have to feel like they have to take on that individual whole out of their entire budget, right? They get a chance to invest in their growth, learn the culture, prepare them for what they need to know. And it ultimately, at the end of it, the student should either find a happy home and the employer has a great employee because they had time to build them, or it wasn't a good fit, because let's be honest, we all had good places that we weren't good fits at. So those are some of the types of work-based learners that you can use. I would encourage you all to kind of connect with your board, your local workforce development boards or NC Works programs, because they can add a value to your students, in particularly different career pathways as well.
All right, I think we have a poll question coming up next,
Yes.
right?
We do.
All right, so poll number 1
It
is
was just
loading. It's just loading.
Okay.
All right.
Sure.
All right. So, what in your experience has produced the most effective experience for your students? Internship, job shadowing, apprenticeship or pre apprenticeship, work experience, or on the job training? And you can put that in the chat for us. Job shadowing, internship. Okay. Internship.
JT. Okay.
Yeah. So we see a variety. I haven't seen any work experience yet. Depends on the student and the participating business, but all could suffice. Okay.
This is great. A lot of internships.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Well, thank you.
Yes, thank you for sharing. Back to my slide. Here we go. So thank you guys for sharing. I saw a lot of internships, and I think that that's probably mostly used in the educational system because it's the easiest, and it actually is probably the most rewarding for students as well. I wonder if they're paid or unpaid. I guess that also depends on the funding sometimes. The work experiences, like I said, is more so used by programs who receive federal funding, but they are all very good options to begin your student to explore the career paths that they're looking to go into. I think that's a wonderful opportunity to kind of push for them and always offer. If you can't offer that, keep doing that. Had another. Do we have another? We had another question, right?
Um,
I did have a. It was a question. I knew it.
oh yeah.
We have a quiz
Okay.
question. There you go.
Right. So, quick question. What was one of the 5 soft skills discussed earlier? Drop the answers in the chat, please. Communication, empathy, communication, time management. Now, communication is definitely key.
Yes. Thank you guys for sharing. I forgot about that actual quiz question. Um, I just want to make sure we're reinforcing the importance of creating those soft skills for those students. Because all the work you put in for work-based learning and getting them connected with an employer, just kind of you shoot yourself in the foot if you're not pushing that soft skills and careerness piece for them, because we know that they're not ready, and when we were younger we weren't ready either. Somebody had to fire us, right? Somebody had to tell us this is not how we do things. You had to communicate with us. We all had that heart to heart. That's where that mentorship comes in, that guidance. But I keep reinforcing that because it's evident that students do leave sometimes and not have the proper career readiness. But you have a community to support you on that. You can always, like I said, partner with boards or your NC Works to come and do some trainings for you. Or the community colleges actually have have classes, HRD classes, or classes like that to give those soft skills, working smart classes as well. All right. So now we're going to talk about building partnerships. Since we have talked about their career path and talked about them getting career readiness training, we're going to talk about building partnerships, um, and identifying those individuals or identifying the people that you need to talk to. Now, this is the part where you become salespeople. You go shake hands and make friends because you're working in the best interest of your students, right? You're connecting with people in your community that can help these students get opportunities because it's all lined up. Somebody had to help someone else, right? So identifying what areas or businesses that you can connect with that's going to be helpful for your students. Sometimes small businesses are the best. My experience has shown that small businesses are more apt to take an intern in or take a work experience in than a bigger corporation because they don't have to deal with higher ups seeing eligibility or excuse me liability and questions and things of that nature. When you work with a smaller business, they're just communicating. They do not have a need. They have more time to kind of provide that mentorship, and both parties are getting something out of the actual venture. I always tell people to, if you see a small business that has a field that your student wants to go into, just pick their brain on what they have going on. If they be taking a few hours a week to train that young person, or to let them kind of shadow what they do in a day because it's important for them. Those are the important pieces of establishing successful partnerships. Because if you're providing them students who are prepared when they get to them and they already have some educational background in it, they're more likely to create a better model for you in the future. And that site will use you again and again. Oh, I had a student come through here before. I would love to have another student to come help out in our industry. Um, those how you kind of build those. With the apprenticeship models, the same setup. The apprenticeships has a lot more paperwork involved, but again, the company is going to get a benefit from it, and we're going to talk more about benefits because we all know that sometimes the benefits kind of sell the opportunity for the actual employer. The benefit of students is they're going to get exposure. With the employer, sometimes it's not as heavy as they would probably like it to be. But also redefining what those students are going to be learning at that location. What kind of tasks? What's the expectation of the student? What's the expectation of the employer? Have those communications, have those conversations. That will make for a better, successful partnership. And you'll see that you will continue to want more students to come to them, and more students will want to go to that location as well. So we kind of talked about this, making friends and making connections, research the industries, local businesses and whatnot, sell benefits. So here's some of the benefits you can sell on that. The employee is going to get a new talent pool. They get the opportunity to get fresh, new talent coming into their workplace that they get to kind of mold into their culture. They get to see the culture. Because nobody likes to hire someone that they have to let go because they just wasn't a good fit, right? With these opportunities, the interns are learning what it's like to be at work, learning either some good things and maybe some bad, depending on work sites, because it has to work for both parties. But they get a participant or student, excuse me, that is going to learn how to do things in their industry, how they like to do those things. And it's at no cost to the employer other than giving some time with that. Now, in some cases, they get a benefit. There's some financial benefits from it, with the work experience. They don't have to worry about financing that person while they're learning, because that work experience is covered by the Next Gen NC Works program. If they enrolled in that program, they get paid while they're there, and the employer gets to train a person that can pretty much be an employee for them going forward after so many months of training. And that's a benefit because they don't have to spend their budget on hiring. They can hire someone, but they don't have to worry about hiring extra people because they have a way to incorporate and mentor this young person into a employee they want to keep, right? On the job training, their reimbursements, they're going to hire them anyway. You get reimbursed up to, I think, was 50% of the wages for 6 months of them getting those up skills, learning how to navigate that job. And if they know some of the job and not all the job, that OJT is a very big part. Those of you who actually said they use OJTs, that's how you sell it to companies, because they're going to get something out of it. Apprenticeships, it's already set up in the government how they can actually get it, and the employer gets employees they get to keep, because at the end of the day, it costs them money when they have to turn over or let go of someone, and then somebody has to do the job until they hire someone else. So that turnover costs the company money. So they're looking at it from, if you want to get to pennies, they're looking at it. It costs them money when they have to release someone, and hire someone new. It costs money to hire someone new on. So ideally, you want to be mindful of kind of just sharing. There's some benefits from it, and then partnering again with your local boards or local NC Works, because there's some opportunities where your students can also benefit as well as the employer. Use those pieces because it's a big selling piece for us, especially the students when they figure out they can get paid for a work experience. They're all about it, which brings another aspect of discussing financial literacy, but we're not talking about that right now. Should talk about it though.
Mhm.
I think we have another.
Oh, coming up. All right, poll number 2. How do you get businesses or create work-based partnerships for your students?
I'm always curious about this because I have a background and I used to be a salesperson, so it's a little different for me. I always want to know what other individuals do in regards to getting businesses to buy into the opportunities that you guys have. I love it. If a student comes to you with, "Hey, I found this company. Can you check it out? Call them for me." That's great because the student's invested. Word of mouth, okay? Network, okay? A lot of networking. The chamber is great. Yes, if you can go to those chamber events and get, some handshakes there, there are oftentimes employees there for you. All right, in-house discussion partnership. Okay, great, great. Yeah, it takes a village. You're at all types of places and you get connected with those individuals and they can make opportunity for your students. I really do prefer, like when they said the student found a place, because the student's invested in, right? Sometimes you have a student who's dragging their feet, but you have somebody come to you, "Hey, what about this welding company down the street? I wanted to see what that's like." That's great because you a student being bought into their education, makes it even better for you when you have to go to that employee, be like, hey, we have some young minds who want to learn your business. Can you share with us what you do? That's a great. Thank you guys for sharing that. Networking is always key. Every day you're networking for your youth. That's I guess a day-to-day task for most of us right now. Thank you, Sharice. Thank you guys for your responses. All right. Now, this is the part where we're going to talk about aligning everything together, aligning work-based learning with education. We kind of mentioned it a little bit. Um, According to the North Carolina standards, it should be emphasize rigorous, relevant, reflective experiences for students, integrated and um, integrated and innovative ways to help students. We all know all those words mean finding a way to make sure that we're combining what they're learning and their interests are with the industry. And within that, it's a place where they get an authentic experience of what they're gonna be looking for in the future. Sometimes they have this idea that they're going to be going to do this type of job and that's what it's going to be. And we all know that it's important for them to experience it, because if they don't, they be setting themselves up for failure, or they will most likely not stay within that actual career path.
All right. True or false question. Work-based learning should be rigorous, relevant, and reflective, interactive, and integrated. Truths. I see all truths so far.
Thank you. And that is correct. The rigorous parts of it and the relevant part, skill based, making them measurable, making sure that they are, next slide, making sure that the work based on it is balanced and has the student has the skill. They can get transferable skills. When you're creating these work-based models, I hope we're gonna talk about kind of a job development plan or plan of what to learn, what you're putting into it. One of the questions always asked, what's the transferable skills, and then what are they going to learn, what are they going to learn from it, what they're going to gain from this experience outside of just being in the working world. What else are you expecting them to learn? We have to be strategic about that part too. Making sure it's relevant, relevant to what they say they want to learn. If their interest is going to CNA, then we need to look at something within the healthcare pathway. Reflective, fostering critical thinking. They are learning more about themselves as they're there too. It's important too, because that's that exposure too, not only to the actual work site, but themselves as well. The other part is interacting with the professionals there, learning to handle things in the actual space, learning how to communicate what they're feeling and what they see, what they have questions about. They gain that real time, real world experience, which is necessary for these young adults as they're matriculating into the next part of their life. And then also integrating the curriculum. So whatever you're talking about in school, making sure that those are the same pieces they're learning at that work-based site. It sometimes they do just need to get exposed, but then sometimes they need those critical pieces of, I'm wanting to go into healthcare. Well, that means they need to actually experience, what does it look like in healthcare? What's the chaotic life of a nurse, knowing that it's not just, like I said, putting a band-aid on something. There's a chaotic piece to it too. I'm gonna speed up a little bit because I realize of time. I thought it was gonna be under time, but I guess I'm talking too much. My bad. All right, structuring. Sorry. This is the piece we're talking about. Finding what pathways work. You guys have pathways in your area. You can throw them in the chat if you like to. That was popular for you guys. If you want mind sharing what was popular in your school systems, your organizations, a popular career path that you guys experienced. But taking that career path and integrating into the employer side of things, making sure the student and the employer are both vested into that work-based learning based upon that career path that they've chosen. It's very important that we are discussing it, and when you're developing a plan, that you're integrating, aligning that pathway with that work-based learning site. I'm gonna move faster because I want to leave part for questions too. So developing the action plan. Ideally, every student needs to have this. If you're gonna put them in work-based learning, oh, did I go too fast? Okay. Um, Steps to work-based learning. So creating a goal, SMART goals, identifying stakeholders. So we know the stakeholders are going to be the student, the school system, and then industries. Sometimes it may be your partner with the workforce development board, your partners. All those have vested interests in that. But building a plan, what job task are they going to be doing? What are they going to learn while they're there? How many hours are they going to be experiencing at that work site? What's the expectation for both the student and the employer? Is the employer supposed to expect it to just put up with any type of behavior? Who do they communicate that with? Set a goal for that student. If the goal is for them to spend 20 hours of shadowing at that organization and to learn these skills or to matriculate into this kind of experience, then put that down. If you put it on paper with the student and the employer, everybody's bought into this is what we expect. We often do a orientation form with the employer, and we have a one-on-one with the student too. That form goes over how to communicate if there's a problem, what is expected, the job task, the job description. That's even better, so the student knows, hey, these are some of the things you're going to be doing. And the employer knows these are the things that we're going to put them and hold them to do. Of course, we all know that if they don't, everybody has a job task and has a job description, but learning that and setting that goal for this is what we expect at the end of this opportunity for this student, and this is what we expect from the employer. And then this employer has the same information. Everybody's on the same page about it as far as what's the benefits and what to be expected at the end of it. Evaluating impact and continuous improvement. So how do you monitor that this was a successful venture for your student? I often like where we will often give the employer an evaluation form. We always say, evaluation, tell us how we did, tell us how we are doing. These KPIs were performance indicators, basically. How are they doing at work? We do a midterm and a end evaluation because we want to check in. We also do check-ins periodically. Call us if there's a problem. We check in just to see it. Pop in if they're at the place they said they were going to be at the time they're supposed to be there. Are they on time? Are they late? They have a timesheet most times. I would encourage using timesheets, especially if you're trying to acclimate them into the working world, making them getting accustomed to doing a timesheet or some type of clock in, clock out system, so they're better prepared for that. But also get the students buy-in too. What was their experience like? What did they like? What they didn't like? Was it something that that employer may not be a good work site? You may find out, or it may be that the student needs some more careerness or soft skills that because their behavior wasn't ready for it. What things are best for that student, but getting that feedback will help you figure out going forward, can I continue to use this partner or do I need a different student at this location? Because sometimes that's the case too. Finding the right fit for the right industry or right employer is also a piece. Sometimes you may it may be the right match. They might end the right industry, right career path, but the participant or the student and the work site are not the best fit. And it could be maybe maturity level or they're just not ready. And that's okay because you may have a student who is ready to go into that experience. So finding those places, getting that feedback from both parties. A lot of times we create a evaluation just for the employer, but I also encourage you to maybe have a little quick one for your students too, because you can get a feedback that maybe it may not be a good site, and that's data that you can use for your future. And we all know data is very helpful when going forward to other opportunities. Now, this is kind of the model we use here. It's a basic work-based learning type of progression evaluation. Like I said, it's a midpoint and an endpoint. We do this at the mid, and we also do it at the end. And if you notice, it talks about reporting to work. If they call in because they're late. Now, this is more about work experience on the job training. You can also use for your internship, especially if you're holding them accountable for a timesheet or some type of clock in, clock out system, because that's important as well. But having the employer evaluate it. And you notice it has both where it says participant, because we call them participants, but for you, it'd be student. The student and the supervisor both sign it. So it's a conversation that you're discussing with the student about this is what, you're supposed to learn. This is what how you're doing at this place. And then it's not a bad thing, because the way for them to go, but towards the end, they're working on, I haven't been so well at this. So it's a report card, so in a sense. I'm gonna do better by the time my final comes up. And it also offers rate of pay, work sites, things of that nature, but this for those students who are getting paid. But it offers places where the soft skills come in, as well as the employer gets to say, this is what's going on, and this is what I would like to see in an employee, or an employee, a potential employee coming into my company. It's a very big piece, and it's data for you to use. So when you're putting it in that plan, you had a plan for them to learn these things. This is kind of how they're doing, and at the end, this is how they ended up with their experience. So either that student needs more opportunities with work-based learning, or maybe they're ready to go to work and is hired by the work site you put them at. Any questions? I did that pretty quickly because I didn't realize I was getting too close to 10 o'clock. I set aside time for that. If you guys want to kind of discuss more about the work-based model within work experience and the OJTs, feel free. Both Ms. Blue and myself have a wealth of knowledge in that aspect. We've experienced that work-based learning combined at the right time with both NC Works and the education system is spot on for the students. We found that students who, particularly in the healthcare pathway, have went on to further career paths within healthcare, combining the model. We started them, they started out as CNAs and helping them get through their CNA courses and the CTE classes in high school, helping them getting the work experiences while they're working on their CNA. They went on to respiratory therapy, sonography, radiography, all other types of healthcare pathways. We found a way to bridge that. I think it's important that we kind of talk about that. Do you guys have any questions about that? Any questions about anything I discussed today?
You guys are welcome to come off of mute and ask your questions, or you can type those questions in the chat. And while we're waiting for questions, I do want to thank you, Miss Blue and Miss Ewell, for coming to share today. I do have a couple questions, but I just want to highlight some things that you guys said. As far as when we're looking at the different experiences, I'm going to stop because here's a question. It says, how can we connect with someone in the Kinston area?
Well, I would connect with the workforce development boards in the area. So go to your, I would say, NC Works page, ncworks.gov, and you can actually put in your area. They should be to pull up actual NC Works board for you, and that board will have connections with your youth programs and your adult programs. If not, I'm gonna have my contact information and Ms. Blue's contact information in the slide, and we can tell you who your board is there if you choose to email. Matter of fact, I'll go ahead and put that on the actual slide so you can see it. You can shoot us an email, and we can get you the name of the board in your area, and they can get you a person to support you.
Awesome. And I would definitely encourage anyone else, if you have not made those connections and partnering with your workforce development board, your next gen representative in your area, please make those contacts. The next gen is funded by funds from We Iowa, and most of that money is designated for out of school youth. And we are looking at our in-school youth, but you guys know that there are some kids in your programs, in your schools, maybe their brothers or sisters who have dropped out, and you're still concerned about them, that you can refer them as well to receive those. There is some pots of money in every workforce development board is designed and structured differently. But there are some that they will partner with you for different work-based learning events, or that will help with just funding for some of your opportunities for some of your in-school youth. But I was going to say, you guys had mentioned when we were talking about all the different types of work-based learning experiences, CTE internships. We offer 6 different work-based learning courses in North Carolina through CTE, Career and Technical Education, and internships by far has our biggest enrollment and has been. We are looking into the experiences of pre-apprenticeships and apprenticeships. Um, but again, that does take more work. It takes more planning because due to the structure of it and the demand that employers have as far as employees. But you know, not everything is a one size fits all experience for every student. So just being able in your school system to offer a variety of experiences for your students, because not every student is going to do an internship, but if they can have a job shadow experience, if you can help them prepare for part-time jobs, whatever we can do to prepare, like you said, prepare those students. It's easy for the placements, but sometimes we got to step back and actually prepare and teach students how to communicate and how to um, be able to adapt and uh, be able to
Deal with conflict.
all of that. But just the basic communication, how you talk with your friends is not how you need to talk with your employers, right?
Right.
And just vice versa. And I love the fact that you guys talked about partnering with small businesses because you don't have all that red tape that you do with larger corporations. But I want to say this on here as well. Um, a lot of times corporations or companies don't want to work with 16-year-olds, but we have had legislation passed in North Carolina that says companies can work with 16-year-olds, especially when we're looking at detrimental occupations. And there is an actual waiver that you can fill out with the Department of Labor that allows the employer, the student, the parent to fill out this application waiver, submit it to the Department of Labor for approval. And it says that as long as they are in a work-based learning experience, they are with a designated mentor that's going to work with them and oversee them through the processes, and that they're not going to just be placed out there on their own to learn this material or those skills. So please make sure that you look into that information. We do have, for those of you that are in the school system, we do have that in the work-based learning Moodle under workplace safety and compliance. Um, so there was lots of great information. Dr. Lavonda McLean put in the chat, one of the ways that they get partnerships is working with another company here in North Carolina called District C, and they help set up internships. Like they find the partners for you. There is a fee associated with it, but there are a lot of school systems that are partnering with third party companies to really increase and leverage more work-based learning opportunities for their students. Another thing, you guys, I'm just waiting. You guys put questions and chime in for sure. Um, but the fact that you said in those career readiness standards, it needs to be reflective. We can't just put students out there without having them be reflective the entire way through the process. Short-term bursts of reflections throughout, as well as at the end, looking at it from a reflective part. And then, of course, when you talked about evaluating, there is another question in the chat. What advice can you offer for students at our school that do not have the opportunity to have a CTE experience? Is that for me or is that for NC Works? At your school, do you offer CTE classes? Diane, if you want to come off chat.
Uh, no, we don't have CTE courses at our school. We are an alternative school,
Okay.
and
Uh-huh.
so we don't get the opportunity to have CTE courses. I think CTE courses are very important for our students when, especially if they're at our school and they're not interested in going to college and they're looking for different careers. but we don't get that opportunity. We do offer a future ready seminar that do address job skills, interviews, things on that nature. So it's kind of hard to get them in internships because of, I guess, the label our school has. However, we do have very good students that are hard workers that are willing to work. But once they see that, who we are, they kind of like shy away from our students. What kind of advice can you offer in that capacity to help our students stay encouraged? Because after a while, they get to the point where they don't want to do anything because they feel like they're labeled.
I
Uh,
wanted to, I'm
go ahead.
sorry. Go ahead.
No, go
Well,
ahead.
I was going to tell you that's the population that we do work with. I'm saying Next Gen is here for young adults 16-24. However, we work with a lot of alternative schools before that reason because those are the students who have had some situations where life has lifed them and they need that additional support. So, we go in, we'll do some training, those students we give those work experiences to, because just because they've had some situations in their past doesn't mean that they can't have a future getting on to the career path they want. That's when we fight and advocate for that particular student. They want to go into welder. They want to go into mechanicry. We put them in a auto mechanic shop so they get the experience. We'll put them connected with the community college because a lot of times they're in alternative school. They can take a couple classes, just some small classes outside of their the curriculum there and still do some work-based learning with a work experience. Those are, I would definitely tell you to connect with whoever's at your NC Works or Next Gen in your area, because those are the students that we are charged with supporting within our program.
Right. We
We
have
work with them.
taken them on a field trip to, well, several field trips to community colleges to look at we have the Manufacturing Academy in Kinston. And so we have, and it talks about how they can get certificated in various levels of the manufacturing system. And they seem interested in that. But
We
like I said, it's that stigma there that's really, really
we
hard
we
to get.
we
Hmm.
sell it to the point where we will get those industries, because we do a lot of advanced manufacturing in our area as well.
Okay.
We did a program over the summer where we had high school graduates go and work for the summer. They went like a 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. shift. A lot of them learned two things. We had a few that stayed on, but during that experience, I think about three or four of them decided I want to go to college, right? Not that
Hmm.
that's not a bad thing because it's an exposure, but
Right.
a few of them like, I'm okay with doing this. I can stay here and make this money because they got paid. But a lot of them just said, you know what, this is not what I want to do. But that was exposure for them and experience for them. So they decided I'm going to go to school. Someone went to do welding, a couple of them went to do something with IT, but that was something that was important that they got exposed to. I would
Hmm.
say sometimes the employers will let you in, and if you're with your workforce development board, there are some things we talk about with liability that it's out of your hands. Then that portion will be taken care of by the Next Gen people. You're just providing the opportunity for them to actually get into that door.
Awesome. Okay. Thank you.
You're
And
welcome.
Diane, one of our career development coordinators um, on the western side of the state brought up a good point, partnering with your local community college, because students can take courses through Career and College Promise,
Hmm.
especially those CTE classes on that level. Most of the time, you're supposed to have a certain GPA,
Right.
right?
Hmm.
However, the principal or their designee can fill out like a waiver for that student to still take those courses if they really strongly believe that that student is going to be successful in
Right.
those courses.
Hmm. And we use that too.
Okay.
Hmm. Yeah.
So
Thank you so much for your advice. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
absolutely. Well, we have come to the end of our hour. Miss Blue, Miss Ewell, we definitely appreciate you very much for coming to share with us. We thank everyone who took time out of their busy day to come in and participate in this webinar. It has been recorded. If Miss Blue and Miss Ewell are willing to share their presentation, that will also be posted in our CTE Moodle for viewing purposes later on. I hope that you guys all have a happy Wednesday and a good rest of the week. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you.
Thank you.